Here is what I'm going to show you how to create in today's tutorial in Divi 5. So when I scroll down here, you're going to notice that my cards here are stacking, and this is really awesome. So this just changes how we design our normal sections, which are pretty much static and boring, but this is something different. You can also add more than one of these cards, and you can even have 5, 6, 7, 8 stacking items here. It's pretty much up to you. And if you go reverse, it also shows up as well. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in. I think the best thing to do here is to start off with the main header area, because that's the part which is going to help us with the scrolling of all the products or all the sections that we're going to have on the page. So I'm going to go in here and add a single column. And in this column, I'm going to add a heading. So I'm going to go in and add my heading here. Now, while we're here, I'm also going to go in and use Lorem 2 because this is my text. I hate, typing. It takes me a very long time to type. I'm going to paste now in here. And while I have this on screen, what I'm going to do is to come over here to design, and then I'm going to go into the heading text and make sure that it is centered. Secondly, while it's centered here, I'm going to come over here to the top and set this to display small. Okay, we want this to nice and big. So we're going to set it to small. Now I'm going to also add another module, and this time it's going to be a text module. I'm going to go ahead and set it like that. I'm also going to grab a bunch of text and paste it. Okay, so over here, you can just override what we have and paste it. Next, I'm going to center it. And then finally, I'm going to add a group. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And in this group, I'm going to add 2 buttons. So I'm going to set my button here and then duplicate it. Now, since I have my group on my canvas here, I'm going to go ahead and select it. And then I'm going to come over here to design, layout, and then I'm going to make sure that my direction here is set to row because I want my buttons side by side. And then finally, I am going to center them. Excellent. So now that we have this, now you may have not noticed this, but I am using a design system. It's called Krafter. But in your case, if you want to design in Divi 5 really fast and consistent, you need to set up your own design system. So if you're interested in my design system and you're happy with how it is working here, I have a link for you to purchase it in the video description below. All right, so since we have our row settings here, I'm going to go in and select it. And then over here on the top, I'm going to make sure that this is set to wide text width. So now you can see everything looks much better. It's not stretched along the screen. Next, I'm going to come over here to my text, and then I'm going to make sure that this is set to my text large. Now, by the way, all this text is responsive and fluid, which means your website is going to be super consistent. Next, I'm going to go in and add a background to this because you know what? It's going to be too boring if it's white. So I'm going to go to my section here, go to my background. But now to have a gradient background, I need to select my background gradient, click on this plus button, and then I can go in and add my colors. So I'm going to start off with my primary color. And then for my second color here, I'm going to go in and add my secondary color. All right. So now that I have that, I'm going to go to my gradient here. It's set to linear, right? But the direction is not what I really want. So I am going to drag it until I am happy with, where the gradient is. So I think 332 is perfect. And then since my background is a bit dark here, I need my text here to be reversed. So I'm going to make sure that this is nice on a dark background or a really dark background so that we have much better consistency and also it is easier to read. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, go to my heading, and then over here on the bottom, and again, this is all coming from my design system. I'm going to go ahead and say heading light. I'm also going to do the same over here. From the text, I'm going to come over here and say text light. And now all I have is my buttons. All right, so with that all set, I can now go in and set my section size. I'm going to go in and set this to extra large since this is going to be my heading. Now, if you see that this is a bit too much, you can go ahead and change your direction of your gradient. But for me, I think I'm okay the way things are. Now things are going to get very exciting because I'm going to go in and design my section with the stacking card. So I'm going to go in, we're going to add a single column like that. So this is where things get really exciting, because you want to make sure now that you are able to control what is inside our design. So I'm going to go in and add a group, and I'm also going to add another group. So this is a group within a group. So what I'm going to do now is to close out of here and head over to our layers so that I can see exactly where things are. Now, I know if this is overwhelming, I have a course on Divi University. So if you head over to diviuniversity.com and take a look at the courses, which is over here on this tab, you'll notice that we have a Divi Mastery course. At the moment, it has 1,258 students. I mean, it is really awesome, and a lot of people are taking on this course. Now, this course is only going for $37, and it's going to teach you everything that you need to know about Divi 5. Because as you know, Divi 5 has been built from the ground up, and it has quite a bit of a learning curve. So you need to know what you're doing in order for you to maximize Divi 5. All right, so with that out of the way, let's head over back here and let's open up our layers. So we have our section here, which is the second one, right? And we have the row, but inside this column, we have this group, and then we also have another group, right? So what I need to do now is to target this group, because this is where we need to add something. So I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to say add element inside. And this element that I'm going to be adding is an image. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And I might as well go in and choose the image. So the image I'm going to go with is, okay, let's go with this one here. Okay. And then I'm going to say upload image. All right, so our image has been added. Now, I'm not sure I really want that aspect ratio, so I'm going to come over here to the top, change this to square, because I think square is much better. And again, this is from our design system. All right, so now that I have my image in this, so this is a group, this is the outer group, this is the inner group. I'm going to go in and duplicate this group like that. So now I have this one here and I have two groups inside. So what I can do now, since I duplicated this, you can see now I have these two groups. I have to go into the main parent one, okay, which is this one, which has the two groups inside, and then come over here to design, layout, and then set this to horizontal. So now they are all side by side. But I don't want to have an image in the second one. I just wanted this to make it easy for me to know what I'll be adding into each item. So I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to click on this plus button and add a heading. And then below the heading, I'm going to add some text like that. All right, so I have my text and my heading. So again, let's go to Lorem 2. I'm just going to grab a bunch of text here like that. Copy that, and then I'm going to go into my paragraph text and paste. And then for my heading here, I am just going to choose a bit of text like that, select my heading, and then just override it. Okay, so now I have my design, but of course it doesn't look, proportional because things are not in place. So what I need to do now is to choose the groups. So I'm going to collapse this. Okay, so I'm going to choose this second group, come over here to design, and then I'm going to go to sizing and set the width to 60% like that. Hit enter. Okay. And then this one here automatically is 40%. So I can go in and manually add 40% because I need a 40-60 layout. And this is the reason why I'm using the groups. So let's go ahead and add my 40%, hit enter. All right, so now I have everything all set. The next thing I'm going to do now is to come over here into the row settings, because I need to give this a background color. So I'm going to go to content, background, and then I'm going to choose my background color by coming over here to insert dynamic content. And you can see here my design system has all the colors that I need. So I'm going to start off with primary 100. But right away, you can see we have a bit of a problem because we need some sort of padding around my design here. So if I need to add my padding, I'm going to come over here to design, and then over here on spacing, I'm going to click on this little icon, assign presets, and I'm going to go in with padding all 2x large. And now you can see I have padding around my design. And while I'm at it, I'm going to come over here and add a border radius. And I'm going to go with medium. All right. Now, since we have rounded corners here, I might as well add it on my image as well. So I'm going to select my image and then I'm going to go to border, but this time I'm going to go with small. Okay, great. Now let's sort out our text over here. So I'm going to go to my text. I'm going to set this to my normal paragraph text. And then over here, I'm going to set my heading to heading 2 like that. All right. So what I may need to do now is to target my group, which is right here. And I am going to adjust my space between my heading and my text. So while I'm there, I'm going to come over here and set this to medium, since there's only 2 items I need to take care of. All right. So now that I have that all, pretty much we are good to go. I'm going to get rid of my layers here. So when I scroll, in fact, you can see I'm not going very far here because I need something else on the bottom. So we might as well go in and add that. So I'm going to add my section here, click on equal columns. And in this column, I am going to add an image. But of course, this section can be a section, with any content. The reason why I'm adding it is so that I get to scroll the way I am scrolling here. Okay, so this image, I'm going to go in and let's go with this one right here. Upload image. Okay, so with my aspect ratio here, I'm going to go with 16:9, I think. Okay, and what I'm also going to do here is to go in and add a full row. So I'm going to go in here and say full width. And you can see it's pretty much covering everything. Okay, as I mentioned, I'm just doing this so I can see my scroll effects happening here. The next thing I need to do is to remove my padding in my section here. So I'm going to go to design and over here to go to spacing and set this to 0, both to the top and the bottom. Okay, excellent. So now we need to make these cards stack. So I'm going to select my row settings. We're going to come over here to advanced, scroll effects, and we want this to stick to the top. So I'm going to come over here and say stick to top. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is to make sure I disable offset from surrounding sticky elements like that. And then over here now, my sticky top offset, I'm going to set this to 100 pixels and you'll see in a moment why. I'm going to hit enter. So if I start scrolling, you can see it stopped. Right? And this is 100 pixels over here, but the bottom one here is, taken over. Okay. Ideally, we don't want that, do we? So what we need to do next is to make sure we select this section here on the bottom because it's going under my card here. I want it to go above. So I'm going to select this. Okay. And we are going to go to position, and this is where we need to fix our Z index. So this needs to be above everything. So I'm just going to put a high number here. So let's say 10, for example, or even let's say 900. It just depends, what you want to add in there. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to save. So with that saved now, I'm going to do a quick preview on front end and let's test and see if this is working. So I'm going to scroll. It stops there. Okay. So it's still going under. Okay, so what I need to do is to adjust my Z index on this item here because that item might have a higher Z index. So I'm going to go in, position, Z index. So I'm going to set this one here to 0, hit enter, and now you can see it has gone under. Do you see that? It happened really quickly, but when I scroll, it goes under. And this is exactly what we need to do. So what I need to do next while I'm here is to go in and set my padding for this section. So I'm going to come over here to the top and set this to large. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to duplicate this one here. So I'm going to duplicate it. So as you can see, when I duplicate it and I try to scroll, as it's going above this one here, it's very difficult to see which is which. And this is why we need a different background color. So I'm going to go into my row settings, come back over here to content, and then I'm going to go to background and then choose the next shade, which is primary 200. Okay. But you're going to notice that when they scroll, they're going to be flash you may not want that. You want really them, for them to stack pretty much like that or somehow like that. So what you need to do is to come over here to your row settings. You go to advanced and let's go to our scroll effects. Now remember, here we have our offset of 100. So the next one here can be 120. If we hit enter, that means when I scroll, it's going to stop there. And this is my 20 pixels. So if you want, you can be a bit more, fancy. Set this to 40. Okay, so now we have 100, 140, which means we are adding 40, 40, 40. Our next one is going to be 180. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come over here, make sure I select the second one, duplicate it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select this one here, which is the third one. So this one is going to be 180. So I'm going to come back over here to my scroll, set this to 180. Oops, hit enter. And while I'm here, I'm also going to change the background color. So I'm going to come over here. Oops, I need to go in. And this time I'm choosing the third one, which is this one. And then I'm going to hit save. Okay, so with that saved, why don't we refresh this and see what it looks like now? All right, so this is our design. So our user comes in, they scroll and it stops. And then this one here follows. And then this one here follows. And then the lower one will go and cover pretty much everything. How cool is that? If you want, you can add a fourth one, but just remember that you need to add plus 40 to make sure that, at least they are the same size. So to finalize this design, all you need to do is to change the images. So for example, for this one here, you can go into the image and change it to this one here, for example. There we go. And then we're going to change this one as well. And this one here is going to be, let's go with that. There we go. So now we have our 3 images. Of course, at this stage, you can go in and change the text as well. Now, you may be thinking, well, is this the only content that we can add in here? Absolutely not. You can add videos in here. You can add icons. You can add whatever you want in this layout. Now, I know some of you may find this a bit overwhelming. As I mentioned, I have a course which teaches you how to familiarize yourself with Divi 5. I'll be adding more and more lessons in there. So once you invest your $35 to purchase the course, you don't need to pay extra for the extra lessons and modules that I'll be adding in the future as Divi adds more features to Divi 5. Now, keep an eye on Divi 5. If you are not subscribed to Divi University, I highly recommend you go ahead and do so. This is a community of Divi users, more than 3,000 right now of Divi users. You can join here absolutely free. All you need to do is to sign up with your name and email address, and you're going to be part of the community. This is a community of Divi users. So in fact, if you come over here, you're going to see that we have, oh, this is really awesome. This message from Frank, I've just seen this right now as we speak. So there's a lot going on here. And there's a lot of lessons, a lot of tips, a lot of, ideas, questions. So just be part of the community and be ahead of the game when it comes to Divi 5. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.